Trevor and Dylan here once again at Hometown Martial Arts, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about some local fights, a little bit about some national fights, international fights, but we're mostly going to be talking about Fight For It and then the UFC. So first we'll get started with, I guess, the UFC last week, since we didn't do a show last week. Did you see any highlights or anything of the card?
I made it straight from Aiden and Leilani's fights.
Right. And congratulations to both of you guys.
Amazing fights. Both won. Got some huge wins. Glad to have them around and a lot of fun to work with. Got to the place to watch fights. Actually, funny enough, hung out with Cody and Emily Keck for the fights, because I've just known them for so long, and I was like, I hate this fight has to happen.
Right, you used to train at Fitness Edge, or you?
No, I used to live in Myrtle Beach, and that's where I used to coach Cody Jones.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Right.
Josh Williams back in the
long
day.
Before.
Long in the time before. But yeah, actually, I hung out with them after the fights to go watch the pay-per-view, because we love hanging out and watching fights together.
Yeah.
And I was there for the Jack Maddalena Randy Brown fight. I got there right while that one was starting, while they were.
Let me look at
out.
this card real quick, and we'll just touch on some of the things that I saw, because I watched the whole thing.
You got the whole
start to finish by myself in my chair with my noise canceling headphones on. I was so.
Oh wow!
I was honestly so happy to sit and watch a fight like that for a change, and especially a big fight night like this. But honestly, not a lot worth mentioning, except for Modestas Bukauskas, who he beat Tyson Pedro in a 3-round decision.
Oh, Tyson Pedro lost?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I thought he won. Oh wow.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on. He kind of alluded after the fact to some things that may have been going on the week before fight, as far as being sick or something like that goes, but he didn't directly come out and say I had this or this was what was wrong with me, but he was there were things going on in the camp. And I think that after the first 5 minutes, it was very obvious that Tyson was completely gassed.
Wow.
And Modestas just kept putting it on him. I mean, he had a great performance too, but that's pretty much the only noteworthy thing that I think you missed on that.
I heard that Jimmy Crute and Alonzo Minifield went to a draw, but I heard that was a wild fight. And I heard the fight companion for it, and it sounds like Alonzo whooped some wholesale ass in the first 2 rounds.
He almost finished Crute four times
in the first round, right?
About 4 times. He had Crute on chicken legs, but this is one of those fights where it's I was happy to see it go to a draw, because it's you guys are both doing a lot, and I would love to see you fight again, but I don't think either of you are doing enough to win.
Interesting.
I think that Alonzo came close to winning the fight, closer than
Crute, right.
For sure. But after that first 5 minutes, it was very obvious that Alonzo was going to need to finish him in order to not be outpaced.
And there was a point deduction later on for a fence grab from Alonzo.
And it was a bad one.
It was a bad one,
and it was a bad one. I will say Mark Goddard was on his shit at this pay-per-view. I don't know what they gave him before he walked out there in Australia, but he was reffing his fucking ass off at this pay-per-view. I mean, he warned Alonzo 3 times about grabbing the fence. On the 3rd grab, it was on a strip takedown, he was going to get mat return. So he got the point taken, and then what happened? They didn't reset to neutral. He put them back on the fence in 50-50.
Oh, wow.
And recreated the position.
And
I was like, oh shit, let's go, Mark.
Yeah.
And he was getting people's fingers out of other people's gloves all night. I mean, he was on the fucking ball. I don't know if he was on that alpha brain or what was going on, but shout out to Mark Goddard for continuing to be one of the best wrestlers in the game.
Justin Taffa obliterated Parker Porter.
It was bad. It was bad. Yeah, that was a bad knockout. That was, I don't think Justin Taffa is elite heavyweight material of the world, but this is a classic
People want him to be Mark Hunt, but he's not Mark Hunt.
This is a classic example of the reason why heavyweight will always be a little wild, even at the highest level, is because you can have a guy like Justin Taffa come in and beat a guy who I think on paper is a little bit better.
Yeah, and Parker Porter is one of those guys he looks like I know some people call him Porker, but the dude can fucking fight.
Did you hear about Islam's IV thing?
I heard some people are saying.
Well, Dan came out and said that somebody on the card was cheating, and he was like, "If you think you can cheat in Australia and not have us find out about it, you're fucking delusional." And
someone was saying that was a blood work thing.
Somebody replied and was like, "Had to be Parker Porter with the beef stock IV."
Fuck. Oh, fuck.
But, I was impressed by Taffa. He sent it down the pipe Mark Hunt style with that cross. And yeah, it was one of those KOs where like ragdoll video game physics happens.
Oh,
like, you know,
that's rough.
Yeah. You saw Jack Della.
Jack Della, that is a motherfucker.
Yeah,
right
he's
there.
got like kind of a weird type of fuck you power.
He
to
does.
his punches, and he's crispy with
it's
it.
timing, and he's one of those guys. Like, there's one level that you get from being a well-skilled boxer is just knowing how to punch at different times and places. And he has good, like, everything he throws has the right commitment that always has an answer behind it, and you can tell what's a measuring shot. Then you can kind of see, like, you saw like the cyration start from shoulder to wrist when he saw that opening. Like, you saw him measuring, engaging, getting clean, and then he just saw the opening and bah, it's his timing. And
Very
like,
measured approach.
Exactly. And he's one of those guys that's very cool. Like, you know, you never want to open up and sell the shot, but like he keeps his attacks so tight. Like everything he does is really inside the box if you look at it. Even he swung, like this punch came over his shoulder and in, but it never came out. So he's got very good punch mechanics behind it. And you can just tell, like, his body's always behind it, but you can tell when he's about to throw that home run. Like, the person in front can't tell. But when you're watching it and you see that replay, you can see he was like, okay, here's where I put the whole body into it. And it was just the gnarliest.
Yeah, he was in no hurry to finish Randy. He hurt him early, and then he right before the finish, he hurt him bad again.
Hurt him real bad before the finish.
Yeah, he face planted him.
Yeah.
I'm a big Randy Brown fan, and if you're gonna take it to Randy Brown and finish him like that, I'm gonna be inclined to believe you can beat most people within 5 or 6 slots of him in the rankings.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, the way that he's been looking,
no
man, he's looking like he's gonna be in that top 10 by the end of the year.
Yeah. Do you think he can breathe through his nose?
Actually, yeah, probably. Like very
Dude,
little.
It looks bad.
It looks very bad.
It looks bad.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst I've ever seen.
Like I've seen some guys with noses like that, but like they can still breathe.
I get it to be like, all right, well, I can get it fixed when I'm done fighting.
Yeah.
You know, but if it starts affecting your actual ability to intake oxygen through the nose, then it could be pretty bad.
It gets pretty bad for you.
Yeah,
later
it gets
on. Especially like the
pretty bad.
grappling exchanges. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because our noses don't stop. Our noses and our ears never stop growing as we age. Even like that's why old people have such fucking weird ears and long noses.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it just never stops. So I can imagine if like you've deviated your nose so badly and then it continues, or your septumitis or your septimus continues to grow, it could, as he gets older, be very problematic. But just like Bisping and his eye, he probably is just like, fuck it.
He's like, fuck it, whatever, yeah.
But yeah, insane performance by him. And yeah, problem at welterweight. El Problemo.
Yair Rodriguez had the end of the fight starting. Like, I could tell that Emmett was in a bad place by the way he reacted at the bell.
Yeah, who would have suspected Yair by submission? But, I mean, he really broke
he broke Emmett with those body kicks, man.
I think
like,
he
you saw, like, and it happened in the first round. Like, he started to bite on him, and then you saw Emmett, like, get really mad at himself. I think because he knew he let Yair know that he was affected by those liver
hits.
hits.
That's what Emmett does is he gets hit and then comes forward hard. Like, he's almost like a more technical...
But here's how you beat a good puncher, with a fucking kick to the liver. Like, it is such a staple in kickboxing and Muay Thai that if you want to avoid the power punch, you'll be able to move behind that left leg to the body because you're gonna, like, and look, Yair was doing the right thing. Like, he would commit and he was always trying to pull his head out of the way. Like, he's barely getting clipped by these big shots, but he did the damn thing to Emmett.
Yeah, I think he kind of picked up or detected that Emmett might have had a hard time making weight. And, I mean, he looked like Skeletor.
And like, man, being 38, like Josh Emmett, I love watching the guy fight. But, like, after 35, you have to see, like, oh, man, is this the one for that fighter to start declining? And with Emmett, it's not so much his ability to fight or his explosion, but his ability to cut weight. Because that dude, like, he also had excess skin, like, over his waistband. That's not a good sign. That's a sign of, like, that. And you saw it's super depleted, dude. His face at weigh-ins looked rough. And I think that maybe him moving up to lightweight, like, dude, I don't think that would go well for him. I mean, we saw, like, you know.
Unless he can juice up.
Yeah.
Unless he can really get jacked.
Man, I think that, you know, Emmett still has, like, the power and speed, but his body has just gotten so goddamn thick through the years of being a wrestler and a combat sport athlete that he can't handle that weight cut like a young guy anymore.
Well, I mean, he was a young guy. The guy I'm about to bring up was a young guy at the time, but you remember when Conor was on the scale at featherweight, he had, like, muscle striation.
Yeah,
Whereas
he looked horrible.
he looked horrible.
Like the
but
like
Emmett, but like you were saying,
if a triathlete did heroin and got ready for a triathlete again, then or a triathlon again, like that's what Connor looked like.
But if the skin is tight, it might be all right. Whereas if the skin is loose around the waistband, it means that there's like missing water around the organs.
Yes.
Very like the juice that your guts sit inside is also being sucked out.
Yeah.
Like if you're that dehydrated, you're having trouble. And I think that was one of the reasons why Emmett didn't shave his beard either. Was he was trying to hide
the face,
how fucking caved in. His face
you could
was.
see it. You could see it.
You could see it. It wasn't working very well.
Not very
if that was his plan, it was not working very well. It was about as effective as a Marvel
his
Universe
body
disguise.
was shot from the get-go.
Yeah, and as soon as that first liver kick landed, I was like, that definitely hurt. And then every single time Yair sent it, I was like cringing, like, because I can just tell, because, sometimes you see a guy get kicked in the body, and you're just like, that definitely landed, but he's acting like nothing happened.
You saw it on Emmett's face.
Every single time Emmett got
kicked, the entire bar
was like,
very uncomfortable.
Ugh.
Like me and everyone else from Fitness and Edge were all sitting there going like, "Oh God!"
It was almost like his arms had to reset. Like he kind of stopped fighting for a second, but then he was like, "Oh, I gotta fight."
And Yair how he relentlessly kept it going. That was a super impressive performance by Yair.
And then the triangle. I mean, just a beautiful entry on a triangle. Just when you think Emmett's like gonna turn the corner on that and pass the guard and kind of get back in the fight. Yair cinches up a triangle. I don't think anybody could have predicted Yair. I'm sure there were people who bet on it and made a lot of money, but I don't think Yair by submission was a popular pick by any means. And I mean, that's the difference between the co-main and the main. Is when I watched the co-main, I was like, either way this goes, it's going to be very exciting because Yair always brings a certain energy and excitement to the fights and like an unpredictability and creativity. And then Emmett, I don't think he's been in a boring fight, but it's not really because of his style or anything. It's just because he's always like the person who's like, I'm pressing forward, I'm in control, I'm landing power punches. So it was pretty interesting to see how he dealt with being hurt early first, because normally he's the person who hurts other people first, and then they have to catch up a little bit. So I agree with you that time is running out. Yeah. And when we talk about guys there's another guy who's 37 in the UFC right now who's on the cusp of a title fight. You know his name? One weight class up. I'll give you a hint. He's 37 years old. He's at 55. He's on the cusp of fighting for the belt.
Not Chandler.
Dariush.
Oh, that's right, Beneil Dariush.
Yeah, he made a tweet.
I was like, oh damn! I thought he was still 35.
Yeah, he made a tweet that was like, "I'm thinking the UFC is waiting for me to retire of old age before they'll give me a fucking title shot." Dude. But I was like,
he's got Oliveira next.
I don't think he should have taken that fight, but and I don't think Oliveira should either. It's pretty early to be getting. He almost got knocked out by Islam. But what I was going to say about the co-main is that I wasn't very excited. I'm actually pretty glad we didn't do a show last week, because if we did do a show, my foot would be in my mouth right now, because I was not expecting the fight that we got by any means. By any means. I thought that, Volk would be fast enough to avoid the wrestling and be clever enough to avoid getting tied up in the first, but I didn't see him getting far out of the second round, because usually by then Islam has kind of like a read on your reactions. And I don't know if it was the weight cut or if it was just Volk's approach and his volume and his like fearlessness, but Islam seemed to be taking a little out of his game. Mm-hmm. He seemed to be a little step behind Volk the entire time.
Well, I don't see him being a step behind. I kind of saw it as, you could tell Volkanovski definitely worked on his wrestling and grappling, but Islam did the right thing by making it into a kickboxing match at the start. I kind of felt like Islam was edging him into turning it into a wrestling match to turn it back around and try and hit a transition. But it seemed like Islam did the right thing. Like, look, a lot of people are saying Volk won the fight. I definitely thought that Islam won the fight, and it's because, let's not forget, was Islam getting hurt? Yes. But Volk also got hurt just as bad, if not.
He dropped him. He dropped him in the first.
Yeah, and Volk got dropped.
I definitely
got hurt pretty bad 2 or 3 times in that fight. He's just a little fucking spring to come back from like a hurt shot, where Islam wears that a little bit differently, and I think a lot more people wanted to see Islam lose.
So did you have 1, 2, and 4 for Islam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 2-3-5 for Volk.
2, 3, and 5 for Volk. I want to go back and watch it, but like at the end of the fight, like myself, Talia, Emily, Teeny, Cody, we're all like, fuck, Islam won that. Like there was no doubt in our mind at the end of the fight that Islam had it won. I want to go back and like, I know the mid rounds were all pretty close, but it definitely
the
seemed
fourth round wasn't close. The fourth round was all Islam.
The fifth was all Volk.
And the
fourth was all
Volk.
Islam. Yeah, like the first three, like I want to go back and rewatch it.
I can definitely see
just because like it was also an amazing fight to watch.
I think it is the story of the second round. The story of the second round is how you see that is how you're gonna end up scoring the fight. And for me, it was like Islam did do a lot in the second round in terms of like pressure, but I just think you can't, like, you have to consider the idea that the new rules like kind of, I don't know if they like specifically made the rules this way to like discourage the kind of wrestling that Islam was doing, but you're not supposed to get scored as effectively on your grappling if you're not making meaningful transitions or getting to dominant positions off of it. And
Where
I think
Islam was definitely going just to like hold the motherfucker down and try and get control.
And I don't think any round is more. I don't think any round is more symbolic of the entire fight than the fourth round, where Islam took Volk's back and couldn't do anything. He was holding on for
think
dear
that
life.
right there is one of the most impressive fucking moments of how Volk can fight this man off his back like that. Like, because even like you saw like Islam go up to Craig Jones after the fight and go, how I no choke this man? Like, and I saw him and I was like, that's a cool little like interaction.
I come
right
to
there.
B team to train.
Like, how come I can no choke this man? It's like what he says to Craig Jones. Like, I mean, hats off to Volk for the defense in that fight. Like that was
Volk had Volk had what I think it's called. Some people call it positive side, negative side when you talk about the cage. And he had a few things going for him in that situation. One was that Islam's back was into the cage, so it's not like Islam can like meaningfully stretch you back out or roll you around. So there's only one way for Islam to go, and when Volk knows that, every time Islam tries to go over instead of under his arm, he tried to put his back on the mat and put his head under Islam's head. And you'll see it like literally he swims it under his head when you watch the fight again. And I just think that the defense...
No, I saw him doing that in the fight. I remember that.
Pretty immaculate. And then it got to a point where Islam realized that the defense was going to cost him the position if he kept trying to attack. So he just held on.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't stand somebody up when they're in back and they're on a body triangle because they're in such a dominant position.
It is, yeah.
But it's like that's stalling.
Yeah, that's like I tell. There's a difference between like holding someone down in their guard and having a body triangle on someone like they're like. The guard is now, like, people now see it as a very almost neutral position. And if, like, the person on bottom can be working, then technically the person on the bottom can be winning if they're looking for active submissions and stuff like that. And if you're just the person holding that person down in guard, it's like, that's a stall. But holding someone's back with a body triangle is damn near as dominant as mount.
Yeah.
And that will definitely ride
I'd say
up
even more so in MMA if you looked at the data about, like, how many people get to mount and finish the fight versus how many people get to back control with a body triangle and finish the fight. I would say that MMA, the body triangle back control is way more of a finishing position. I mean, I just thought that like Volk came closer to winning the fight more often and had more volume, and overall, like on a fight basis, like if you're watching the fight as a whole, I definitely would say Volk won. Especially when you consider the idea that, like, what would the fight have been like if there was even another minute in it? You know? Yeah. But when you look at it round by round, it's way closer. Too close to call a robbery for either guy.
It's such a close fight. It was such a close fight, but, like, my initial gut instinct was, like, I kind of felt like Islam won it.
I really thought that I thought Volk just did enough. But it's very hard to do enough and win the belt, as he is well aware of from his last fight with Holloway, where a lot of people thought Holloway won, but he got the nod. Yeah. And it happens. So, I mean, they're talking about doing another rematch. I think that's a good idea.
I say they both need to defend their belt and then do the rematch.
I like that too, but I think that the UFC doesn't think long term, they think short term. Right. And when you have a fight that nobody was expecting to be good so much, the UFC wasn't even expecting it to be good because they didn't promote the fucking fight. Yeah. So then the fight turns out to be good. It's fucking fireworks. You can damn well bet your ass off.
One of the best goddamn MMA fights in history.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, as far as, like, if you look at what
edge
MMA
of my fucking
is now,
seat. Edge of my fucking seat.
Yes, the whole time. Like the whole time. And everyone at the bar, even people are just like, you can tell are casuals, like to watch fights, we're all like,
now,
holy fuck.
I don't, I think that, Islam has a few things going for him, that separate him from Khabib. One is the difference in the striking acumen, but there's a few things that
I was very impressed
separate
with Islam's striking.
Khabib from him.
I know, like, Volk's a good striker, but Islam on the feet, from what we've seen from him before, I was like, that motherfucker has a toolkit on the feet that a lot of people have not seen the whole thing of.
In my opinion, this is the first time he met someone who was equal or greater to him in stand-up.
Yes.
And that's why.
And I was impressed with, even how he would find traditional in elbows, his traditional Thai plum, stuff like that. Like,
he's so good at that.
He's so good at that.
Yeah, he's really good in the Thai plum clinch. And I think that he has strengths that Khabib doesn't have, but I think the weaknesses are starting to show. He's clearly not as superhumanly strong as Khabib
He's not
was.
the same mental athlete either, I believe.
I agree with that as well. But, he's clearly not as physically strong as Khabib was, because Khabib could, touch people with one finger. And
being Khabib Jr. is still being the junior to that person.
Yeah, and also, I was telling Mike, the guy, my best friend who from back home that I watched the fights with online, we were in Discord watching the fight, and I was like, one thing Islam has going against him that he will always have going against him is the mysticism of the Dagestani system has kind of worn off. Like when Khabib was the only one, it was like a very almost like shamanistic, mysterious,
now everyone's
dark,
like,
black
damn it,
magic.
they're all this fucking.
And it's like, they're all the same, but now it's been long enough to where some of that mysticism has been deprogrammed and reverse engineered. So there's some stuff out there that people know to do, and if you're not exactly perfect, like Khabib was in many of his fights, then I think that Dustin Poirier is a good matchup for Islam. But I think that the nightmare matchup for him at 55 is Chandler after this fight. I think Chandler is the worst fight for him. But
for Islam?
Yeah, I think.
Just because I think how
Michael Chandler's never been out wrestled his entire career.
But he does get out gas tanked now.
He never has been out wrestled.
Yeah,
and Islam,
that's true.
And especially after this fight,
you said that. You're right. He's never.
They say that he out wrestles Hamaru sometimes in the training room.
Chandler does.
Yeah, they say that. They say that when they go in the training room, it's fucking close, and sometimes he puts it on Kamaru.
Oh.
So I'm like, if you can't, I just think that Chandler does bring a certain level of chaos, and he is just like. I feel like at least the first two rounds would be very similar to the Volk fight, except Chandler would be a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger as a result. So I think that's like the fight I want to see, but now it's clearly going to be Oliveira versus Dariush and Chandler versus Conor. And if Chandler wins, no title shot. If Conor wins, title shot immediately.
Yeah.
If Oliveira wins, immediate title shot. If Dariush wins, we'll see what happens with Conor and Chandler.
Interim title shot.
yeah. You can fight Chandler for the interim
it's such
title.
a bummer how Dariush is just not.
He's been dicked.
So
He's been
hard,
dicked by the UFC for sure.
So hard.
All right, we can talk about the 55 all day, I'm sure, but there's a tiny little card going on this weekend.
Upcoming weekend.
Oh my God, they changed the main event. I did not know the main event had changed. It was supposed to be Santos.
It
was supposed to be Santos versus Blanchfield. That was the first replacement.
Oh yeah, now it's Andrade versus Blanchfield. Yeah.
Oh man, Blanchfield's gonna fucking melt her.
Yeah, probably.
Unless Andrade just clips her with a big shot.
Yeah,
I think
this fight card this weekend, I'm going to be watching this fight night with the Fight For It pay-per-view going on at the same time.
Jordan Wright's pretty good.
He's fun to watch. Josh Parisian's like a good mobile heavyweight fighting Jamal Pogues.
Whoa! Look at this fight: Jim Miller versus Alexander Hernandez.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome right there.
That's a cool fight.
Awesome. That's a good fight. That's a fun fight. I'm more excited for that fight than a lot of the other fights. I'm just always going to be rooting for Jim Miller.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Sandhagen versus Vera. Then it was Blanchfield versus Santos.
Why'd that fight get moved?
I don't know exactly right now off the top of my head. Lena Landsberg is fighting too. Buena Silva. Oven St. Preux on the early prelims.
Yeah, dude, they got our boy Derek Brunson on the prelims of the upcoming 285 card. That's wild. Against Driskius Duplessis, I feel like that should be opening up for 285.
Yeah, I agree.
But they want Bo Nichols.
I was about to say, you know why, though. Yeah. You know why. And we'll talk about that when 285 comes. I got a lot to say about that matchup as well. Both the Duplessis-Brunson matchup and Pickett-Nickel.
I like that matchup a lot, though. That's a fun matchup.
Good, yeah.
That's
Especially
really
after the
fun
Till matchup, I'm more excited about that. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple fights that I'm looking forward to this weekend for the UFC, but I will likely miss them as I will be doing commentary for Fight For It, and I think you're gonna chill at the house and watch them Fight For It, right?
Yeah, no, I might. I thought about maybe bringing the TV in here, like set up the small TV for the. It's a pay-per-view, right? Is it through the Fight For It app?
I believe it is going to be through the Fight For It app.
Okay,
yes.
well, I don't think good, so I'll see if I can.
I think you can just go on their website. I mean, honestly,
I mean, you're talking to a dude that doesn't even know a PC.
Yeah, so, that's true. That's true. You might have to get young Tyler over here to sort that out for you.
My fight kids help me with technology like I'm their grandparents.
As far as kickboxing goes, I was just going to mention Anthony Campbell is fighting.
There's a handful of guys from Elevate on this card, right?
No.
No? Oh.
There was going to be, and then it didn't work out, I think. But I'm more excited about the amateur MMA. On the kickboxing side of things, I really only see Campbell that I think he's great, especially for a heavyweight. He's got good Muay Thai. I would love to see, if Anthony wins this fight, I would love to see him take on our boy, the dude, the guy who should have won Worlds. The heavyweight.
Suggs.
Joel Suggs.
Do you have a copy of this card? I thought I saw it on the Fight For It page, or not.
No, there's no published card. It's just posters right now.
Really? Okay, yeah. I thought I saw like a full fight card out there somewhere. Yeah. Howdy, hey, gentlemen. Howdy.
Kickboxing. Let's see. Amateur MMA. Smiley Watkins versus Quincy Evans Jr. for the 155 title.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Smiley's good. He's the guy who's got like 4 subs, all amateur subs. Mm-hmm. Let's see.
He's taking on a kickboxing convert, right?
Yeah, Quincy Evans Jr.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've commentated one of Quincy Evans' kickboxing fights, I believe, and now he's 3-1 in MMA. So that one should be pretty good. We've got our boy Addison taking on Emmanuel Simpson at 135.
Dude. 35?
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's what it says here. It might be a mistypo. It might be 40. I think it's supposed to be 45, right?
45, yeah. Those two have always fought at 45. I was like, Addison's too big for 35. That kid's a whole brick shit house.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a typo.
But that's going to be, man, that's one of those fights that has me bummed out it's happening, but I'm super glad it's happening. It was like kind of like Leilani and Emily fighting this past weekend. Right. 2 female fighters like I've worked with, and they brought out nothing but the best in each other that fight. And then you've got Addison and Emmanuel, 2 kids that I've also had the chance to work with a couple times each, and I'm just like, shit, I hate they have to fight each other, but I know that they will just be making each other better after this fight.
Yeah, it's amateur still too, luckily, so I mean, hopefully you would like, I think Leilani and Emily were talking about this too, or at least I saw Emily talking about it on social media, how, now that they've had these amateur careers, they're gonna like go pro and fight girls outside the Carolinas.
Exactly.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
So you'd hope to see the same thing for both of these guys. But yeah, Addison getting back in there, looking to get to 2-0. Emmanuel's more of a veteran, and I think his veteran kind of status in my mind that doesn't necessarily come from his record, but his mat time and his mat time at the right school. Yeah. And it's like the story, Rory. I guess Rory saw my interview for Fight For It, and he said, small gym coming for big names. Mm-hmm. And I think that like that's kind of the story going into here. Is like Emmanuel comes from the best camp you could possibly come from, and then Addison comes from middle of nowhere.
What you don't see on Addison's record is that he has a decent kickboxing record as well. Yeah. Like I've seen that kid go into overtime at kickboxing tournaments and come out on top. Mm-hmm. And like when it gets going hard, that motherfucker gets going. Yeah. What are some other amateur MMA fights pointing out to you?
Well, Sebastian Cavado, we commentated his first fight as a youth fighter. I think he was like 17 at Fight For It. Mm-hmm. Then he fought as an adult in kickboxing, and now he's making his amateur MMA debut this weekend.
Where's he out of?
I think he's out of Gym O, but if not, he's out of like Body Shot or one of those gyms in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I know we've seen a lot of him, so I'm interested to see what he looks like in MMA because we've seen a lot of him in kickboxing. Mm-hmm. And the thing I always take away from him is that he is like tough as nails. Mm-hmm. Sam Marler, who's fought a lot of kickboxing for Fight For It.
He's doing MMA now?
He's making his
all right,
MMA
Sam.
as well. Yeah.
I like Sam Marler. He's a good kid. I like him a lot.
Yeah. So there's a women's ladies fight, bantamweight fight. 2 debuts. Doesn't have either of their gyms listed, but that's always good to see more women participating in amateur MMA. There's been some change-ups with the pro card.
Oh, no.
So Kendall's out. He injured. And they're going to have somebody else step in at 170 against Ernest Robinson from Carolina Combat Sports. Do you want to guess who it is? They're making their pro debut.
Josh Motzinger,
It's
right?
Josh Motzinger,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see this fight. Yeah, I love Josh Motzinger.
Yeah.
I think his fight with Copa was amazing.
Yep.
So I'm pretty excited to see that. Aaron Castro versus Levi Whitlow. We're
That-
very familiar with both these.
And I think those guys have fought primarily for Fight For It, right?
Yeah, but they've also fought each other before at Rowan County Fight Night.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Aaron beat Levi a long time ago at Rowan County Fight Night.
And Aaron's the one out of Salisbury, out of Fit X.
He just fought a Med Kamas and drawed him at the last one, and then before that he fought Emmanuel and beat him.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's a Mexican boxer guy.
Dude, his footwork and hands are so slick.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was trying. So I don't want to throw any. I hate the shady Brent. I know you listen to the show, but Brent and me were talking, Brent Williams, and he was like, I like Aaron, but all he does is throw one combo, and I'm like, dude, if you got footwork like that, you can kind of get away with throwing one combo.
Away with it, yeah.
But yeah, he's in and out. I mean, super traditional Mexican style boxer, not afraid to take one to give 4. And I think that's the thing that Levi's got to watch out for. But they say that Levi is a completely different animal than the last time we saw him, and he's actually using his long limbs.
Is Levi out of Atlantic?
He's out of Jimmo now.
But he was out of Atlantic, right? Okay, okay.
He's with Brent and those guys at Jimmo, and they say that they've taught him how to actually use his length to his advantage. Because that's the problem he's had in the past. So I know that going into this, he's going to be looking to keep Aaron away. And, of course, Aaron's just going to run forward and do his thing.
That's really cool to see. It made me, when I saw that matchup, I definitely felt like an old person. Because, we're getting to see 2 guys, we were there for these guys' amateur debuts, and now we're seeing these guys
especially
make their pro
Whitlow.
debuts.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of action from these guys.
Commentated 4 of Whitlow's fights.
Yeah, we've been around a lot of these guys' teammates, so it's very cool to see that happen.
And then you got my favorite fight of the night, Paris Artis versus Gabriel Brown.
Bro.
I cannot wait for this fight.
And if, Gabriel and Paris are just kind of bits of boogeymen for the area.
I agree.
Not fun fights.
2 guys that nobody really wants to fight.
No,
for sure.
And these 2 guys fighting each other is an awesome, awesome matchup. Paris has still undefeated as a pro.
He lost his last one in CFFC.
So he's 3-1 as a pro now.
5-1.
5-1 as a pro. Whoa, I'm way
Gabriel's
off.
1-0.
That's it? He's only had 1 pro fight?
This is his second pro fight.
Oh, God.
He commentated his pro debut.
Yeah, I thought he had a few more after that, though.
No.
Or I guess he had a few more matchups, but a lot of fallouts.
He's had amateur bouts, and he did his last amateur fight, and then his pro debut was a month later.
Yeah.
So it's he's pretty active.
Yeah,
but he's also really young.
I thought I've seen his name pop up for a couple other pro things, but I guess it just fell through
maybe
for NFC or something like that.
Maybe, but this is a big fight for him.
Huge fight for Gabriel.
If you finish Paris Artis, you've arrived as far as South Carolina MMA goes. But I think Paris. I was talking on the pre-show about this. I was like, I don't think he really has a lot to gain by fighting a guy like Gabriel unless he feels like he can just put statement performance.
He's just trying to stay active.
Yeah, but that's not enough against
someone like
Gabriel, right?
Yeah.
You can't really look past him or treat him like a warm-up fight for your Contender Series fight or anything like that. You got to go out there and put him away and highlight reel him and hope they call you for the Contender Series. Because I feel like Paris is a guy who, if the pandemic had not happened, then he would already be in the UFC.
I agree.
So, he's got to kind of step on the gas a little bit. Whereas Gabriel loses this fight, no big deal.
Yeah,
he's 23 or 24. He's a stud too.
Yeah.
The main event will be Tanner Saraceno versus Cub Hawkins. He's 2-0 in MMA, 2-0 bare knuckle.
Tanner is he's been around for a minute.
Yeah.
He's been around for a long time.
Cub's the guy who beat Maurice Morris.
On short notice.
Yeah,
he went up 2 weight classes for that fight.
He's a monster.
No, Cub is I saw that matchup. I just went, does Tanner's team know what they signed up for? I mean, Tanner's all business. That man comes out to fight. He's very tooth and nail, very technical. Tanner's been a bit of a different fighter since he's been coming off that full knee reconstruction.
Yeah, I read
that took some time off, and you can see his movements changed a little bit, but neither one of these guys are a pushover for
Business owner, husband, father.
Yeah.
And then Cub's like brand new to the game.
Wild,
2
man.
knockouts in bare knuckle.
Yeah.
2 wins in MMA. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a vicious stud.
I think you can usually find him training at like Rufus Sport as well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Cubs definitely like a guy
Yeah,
you want to
that
have
is-
your eye on.
Yeah,
You
these
wanna have
are
your eye on.
like I really like that co-main and that main event because these are definitely fights that people on bigger shows should be looking at to get them onto or get pairs, back to CFFC, or if like for Tanner and Cub, like those are guys that should be at like LFA, CFFC, Island Fight, stuff like that, man.
Yeah.
There's some bigger shows out there that should be keeping some eyes on these.
If Paris loses to Gabriel, that's where Gabriel's headed.
Oh, 100%.
Gabriel's ready for a show like that if that's going to be the case. But
Yeah.
I was telling Chaz on the pre-show, I was like, man, if Paris goes out there and highlight reels them, we're talking about a very quick turnaround into a bigger fight or straight up contender series fight, And yeah, I mean, Gabriel has a lot to prove in this situation, and I think that Cub has a lot to prove. They're both kind of still emerging. I think people are more excited right now about Cub because he's hot. He's got the multiple sport finishes, but yeah, it's going to be Tanner and Paris's kind of veteran savvy and technical aspects of their game against these two guys that are like a little bit more athletic, a little bit more stronger and more explosive. And we're going to see how they can kind of deal with that explosiveness and that athleticism in these matchups. So, yeah, I'm pretty stoked for Fight For It to return, and I'm hoping that this will be the first of many shows coming up for them. And obviously next week we'll be talking about lightning strikes. I don't know if we're going to have a card for it, but we'll talk about it.
I think we have a card for it.
We'll touch on it, and
I'll be doing some guest announcing and commentating for that.
Oh,
yeah.
Who's streaming?
The Johnny Davis has his streaming thing that he does through on Facebook, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So as far as I know, I'll be doing the in-ring post-fight interviews. They always like to have me at those for that.
Okay.
And then I've been told they might need me to hop on commentary, and I went, ooh, absolutely. I do love some commentary.
Try to get me a pass, bro. I'll shoot video or whatever.
I'm down. Oh, heck yeah, of course, yeah.
Just put in a good word for me, and I'll come through and shoot some video or something, and we'll make a nice little vlog out of it. But yeah, guys, that's it. You can catch Fight For It. Make sure you download the Fight For It app so you can stay up on all of the matchups that are coming up this weekend. And you can also get information on how to purchase tickets if you want to attend. It's in Spartanburg, South Carolina, downtown at the Marriott. Or you can always go to Fight For It's app and watch through their link for the pay-per-view. I'll be on commentary with Taylor Starling and then Seth Stevenson for the MMA portion of the card. And until we see you again, guys, just enjoy yourselves and the fights.